We're good to go.
Great. Good evening. I want to welcome everybody to the Wednesday, June 14th meeting of the COCC Board of Directors. This is our final meeting of the 2022-23 school year. The first item will be the native lands acknowledgement. And the purpose of acknowledging someone is to say, I see you and you are significant. And the purpose of a land acknowledgement is to recognize and pay respect to the original inhabitants of a specific region. It's an opportunity for us to express gratitude and appreciation to those whose territory you exist in. COCC would like to acknowledge that the beautiful land our campuses reside on are the original lands of the Wasque, but we know as the Wasco, and the Wanalama, or the Warm Springs people. They ceded this land to the US government in the Treaty of 1855. The Numu, or the Paiute people, were forcibly moved to the Warm Springs Indian Reservation starting in 1879. It's also important to note that the Klamath Trail ran north through this region to the Great Celilo Falls trading grounds, and the Klamath tribes claim it as their own. Descendants of these original people are thriving members of our communities today. We acknowledge and thank the original stewards of this land. Roll call.
Yep. Bruce Abernethy,
Here.
Joe Krenowitz,
Yes.
Laura Kraska Cooper, here. Alan Unger,
Here.
Oliver Tatum,
Here.
Erica Scapfold, here. Jim Clinton,
Here.
Lori Chesley, here. Michael Lalonde,
Here.
Anne Marie Hamlin, here. Alicia Moore, here. Laura Boney, here. Zach Boone,
Here.
Mark Reinecke,
Here.
Kathleen Knudsen, here. Kyle Matthews,
Here.
Dre Aguirre,
Present.
Jeremy Green,
Here.
Amy Harper, here. Mindy Williams, here. Sarah Henson, here. And Jen Kovitz, that is.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any agenda changes other than what passed out for the last minute earlier?
No,
Okay.
and those were on the agenda.
Okay,
We had just neglected to send the document.
My bad, thank you very much. So the next item is going to be public comment. And I know we have a number of people who want to address the board this evening. So some of them have submitted their testimony beforehand. I'm going to ask Jen Kovitz to do that. And then everybody who signed up will have an opportunity to speak, as well as people who may be inspired after hearing other people before. So even if you haven't signed up, I will provide that opportunity at the end. I think what we're going to do is try to have people limit their comments to 3 minutes. And so I've asked Alan Unger to be the timekeeper here. And what we're going to do is sort of when you start talking, I'll go ahead and start the timer. When you've got about 30 seconds left in your 3 minutes, they'll just basically give kind of a signal. And so you can take that into account as you finish up your comments. Okay, great. Jen, do you want to go ahead and share what
Yeah.
you received?
And I'm trying to be close enough to the microphone so we can capture it for YouTube. But reading first from Emily Moxley, who is head of library access services for COCC's Barber Library. Commencement is meant to be a time of momentous joy for our students. It is the culmination of their academic careers at our institution. However, their voice is continuously and notably absent from information and decisions surrounding what is essentially their day. We have an outstanding student government office, ASCOCC, as well as a tireless and exceptional multicultural office and coordinators, of which an LGBTQ+ student coordinator should be added to the ranks, who were glaringly absent from this recent commencement decision. Moving forward, when it comes to decisions that widely and greatly affect the students, especially commencement, their voices should be present by having the student president and the director of the multicultural office and/or any of the student coordinators, LGBTQ club advisors in the meetings and discussion in order that a mistake like this does not happen again. The DEI initiatives and statements of community are a large part of the reason why I chose to work here at COCC. I ardently believe in them and that the college can embody them again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now from Christy Walker, our Director of Diversity and Inclusion. Hello, COCC board and community. I would have liked very much to be there in person, but I am still recovering from COVID and the physical, emotional, and mental toll everything has been taking on me. What I am sharing comes from me, and I take full ownership of the words I am sharing. I want to officially state that I believe bringing this speaker to commencement is a mistake. I do believe we need to be open to hearing other people's perspectives. After all, that is a huge part of equity work, and it is a value that I adhere to. What makes this different is the occasion in which she would be speaking. This is not a platform to share ideas and discuss the issues. This is meant to be a celebration and instill hope and pride to the graduating class. We have worked so hard these last few years to give the LGBTQS+ community at COCC a voice and home. Was this all in vain? Allowing this person who actively denies their right to exist through her support and co-sponsorship of anti-LGBTQ2S+ bills will diminish everything we have done and the great steps we have taken. As I said before, we do not need a political figure to inspire our community. We need someone who truly understands and values the principles of community, and someone we can be proud to have at our college. One thing that keeps resonating with me is what one of the keynote speakers from NCORE, Michelle Alexander, author of The New Jim Crow, asked: how will we rise to the challenges of our times? There are some folks who will not be able to understand the issue at hand, as it is very easy to shrug something off when you are a part of the group that has been traditionally in power. I cannot be an equity practitioner and not advocate for change, but also empathy. In my experience, the folks who are in leadership positions at the college have been some of the strongest advocates for inclusion. They have collectively and individually shown up for our communities. Leadership has openly admitted to making mistakes throughout this process. Those who know me know I believe in the adage that a mistake does not define you. What you do afterwards does. While I still do not agree with the decisions made, I want to advocate for action moving forward. We should not let years of hard work be erased. What we should do is hold those in power to a higher standard by showing us their commitment through action. Some ideas include: create and fund a paid position and program to support LGBTQ2S+ students and colleagues at COCC under the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Make funding available to bring in more trainings and programs that educate on LGBTQ2S+ needs and issues. Make sure that every building has a minimum of one gender inclusive bathroom. Reestablish training centered on immigration and undocumented issues. Publicly, visibly, audibly, and through action, reconfirm the college's commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Create opportunities where staff and students can come together to discuss different perspectives and share ideas. This is not a finite list, but it is a start, and some of the ideas are already in practice, but I felt they bear repeating. I invite anyone who is interested to reach out to me, meaning Christy Walker, to connect and explore what we can do together. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts. I look forward to connecting with you.
Thank you.
And finally, from Rebecca Valorn, our classified CAC OCC VP of Employee Relations and our Library Collections and Acquisition Specialist. Rebecca writes: Dear COCC Board of Directors, it is with a heavy heart and great distress that I write to you today. I am an employee and a student at COCC. From both perspectives, I now urge you to reconsider your selection of Lori Chavez de Reamer as our commencement speaker. Speaking as an employee, I am a trans non-binary person. Because of this, there are many places where it is not safe for me to be present. When choosing employment, I evaluate every location carefully, deciding if it will be at a minimum a safe place, and then whether it will be a welcoming and supportive place. I felt confident that COCC was a great place for me to work and also attend school. I am not alone in this. I know several students and employees that specifically chose COCC because of its demonstrated commitment to equity and inclusion. I think it is because we came here with such trust that we are now so devastated by COCC's decision to host Lori Chavez de Reamer as our commencement speaker. After coming to rely on COCC as a safe haven to be our whole selves, this feels like a declaration from the college that we're no longer wanted here, and instead this will now be a safe place for bigotry and persecution of minorities. The college's choice to appoint a commencement speaker who actively opposes the very existence and opportunities for the students we work the hardest to serve sends a clear message. Minority and LGBTQIA+ people are no longer supported here. This choice also sends an even more dangerous message. COCC is a good place for people who oppose minorities and LGBTQIA+ people. Is that the message we want to send after so many of us have worked so hard to create a welcoming and inclusive place for our most undeserved people? Please be encouraged that it is not too late to do the right thing. You can demonstrate for our students what humility and integrity looks like. You can show them that it is okay to make mistakes and demonstrate how to admit that errors were made, make a meaningful apology, and then right the wrong. We can turn this into a wonderful teaching and learning moment as only an educational institution can. I call on you to be the change we need to see in the world. Please revoke the invitation to Lori Chavez de Reamer and choose a commencement speaker that will inspire us and bring us together as a community. Please take this opportunity to make us proud of being a part of COCC once again. Sincerely, Rebecca Valorn.
Thank you. Do you have the list of people
I
who
do.
signed up? I'll go ahead and let you call them.
That's the attachment. And please feel welcome to join the table if you
So
feel.
the owl could see me.
So the owl can see you.
My name is Becky Plassman. I have taught math at COCC since 1995. And I'm also a queer woman. I came here with my wife. Okay, it took a while to get married, but did it. All of you heard from me via email last week about my personal reasons for my disappointment and frustration that Representative Chavez de Remer was invited, despite objections, to be our commencement speaker this year. Her legislative record is incompatible with our college's commitment to equal treatment for all. A key point I want to make tonight is the difference between inviting Ms. Chavez de Remer to give a speech at commencement, a place of honor, a day that is supposed to be about celebrating students and their accomplishments. And I would also like to point out a day which is an obligated contract day for faculty versus inviting her to campus to a forum where she could engage in dialogue and conversation with students and staff. In fact, I would like to point out that Ms. Chavez de Remer was invited by the same LGBTQ club students to this campus during election season last fall, and she declined. That would have been an appropriate place for her to be on this campus engaging in dialogue. A commencement speech is not the same thing. So it is my hope that COCC will make 3 main changes to show that we have learned from mistakes made in planning for commencement this year. One of the most important, I think, is regular student, staff, and faculty input to senior leadership team and other decisions that affect the entire college. The senior leadership team is kind of several layers above the day-to-day work of the college and often doesn't see what's happening on the ground. So I think more input would be better. I would like further diversity training for senior leadership. Some of the things that have been said in this conversation feel to me to be coming from a place of privilege that needs a little more education. And I would also like to echo the call for funding for an LGBTQ coordinator and the LGBTQ. Thanks, Alan.
Well, no, you can finish. I don't.
Did I have one more sentence?
Sure. I've never done this before.
Frankly, I think it's shameful that we haven't come up with that money before. That's something we need to do. Thank you.
Next, Dre Aguirre.
I'll stand, because I want to be able to turn around.
Hey.
My name is Dre Aguirre. I know I have emailed y'all before recently. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am here as more of a representative of our Latinx community. Many of our students have shared their concerns repeatedly to me, and of course, a lot of other staff members. Our undocumented students share a lot of fear with this chosen commencement speaker, primarily because of ICE. We all understood the situation a couple years ago when ICE came into town and instilled a lot of fear in our community. A lot of our undocumented students already do not have a lot of accesses, whether it be federal. I think hopefully most people understand the barriers faced constantly. There are the Latinx community are undocumented. I don't say immigrant because they're not immigrants. So I say, because we are one American continent, so it's a bad word to me. You know, so I apologize for that, but I say this. I would love a reevaluation of who we choose as our speaker. I appreciate y'all, I respect y'all, however, this kind of is a slap into a lot of students' faces. There's a lot of students who just want to hurry up and get it over with, and then there's students who just don't want to come. And I feel that's a disservice to our students. Our people. I'm graduating this Saturday, and it's really hard. Because I'm bringing my family up, and I've been sharing with them things that are happening, and I don't want them to live in fear either. They come to celebrate, not just me, but just be part of this celebration with all of our students. And I just want to make sure that's echoed and heard. And as an ally for our amazing LGBTQ2S+ community, it's one of those, come on. I'm just bringing it real, come on. Thank you for letting us speak. And that's a lot to say about that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say a special thank you to Dre. It takes courage for a student to speak. And I have a special connection to Dre and a lot of other students because they attend the LGBTQ+ Friends Club on campus. And we had the honor of being described as one of the most active clubs on campus this year, and I think last year as well. We are the people that sponsored the candidates forum on November 1st that invited, with Dre's help as well, all the Republican candidates and all of the Democratic candidates that were running campaigns in local and county and state elections. My name is Kat Finney, by the way, I forgot that part. And I've been a professor here. I've been at CCC for going on 31 years. And I work as a faculty librarian in the library. Facts, research, it's all really important to me. But what's even more important is my role as advisor to that club. I've been around for a long time. I'm kind of jaded, right? But working with these students has given me new passion for my work, these guys, and new involvement and a new level of commitment. These students, and all of our students are fantastic, right? All the students that hang out with the Latinx club, with the Afrocentric club, with the board games club, the whole bunch, they're terrific people. I am so proud to let you know that one of the members of our club is this year's student commencement speaker, and a significant has received a significant merit scholarship to the University of Oregon. Another student in our club has received the Avon Mayfield Award. I'm not going to say any. It's still a secret until Saturday. But that person, and don't put the pieces together, all of you know this person, is going down to Stanford. She's going to miss commencement because she has an internship, a research internship at Stanford. She is destined for incredible places. These students are incredible, but you know what? Their mental health has taken a toll this last 2 weeks. And I'd like to mention the Trevor Project 2022 National Survey on the LGBTQ youth mental health at this point. So in the last 3 years, that survey demonstrates that the rate of suicidal thoughts have trended upward among LGBTQ young people significantly. And I'd like to note that LGBTQ youth are not inherently prone to suicide risk because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but rather they are placed at a higher risk because how they are mistreated and stigmatized in society. LGBTQ youth who found their school to be an LGBTQ affirming environment reported lower rates of attempting suicide.
So I guess you need to wrap.
I'm going to wrap it up.
Okay.
inviting Representative Lori Chavez DeRemer, who is actively right this minute seeking to pass federal legislature that wants to disenfranchise and indeed eradicate LGBTQ rights, including our students. That has to have a significant mental health impact on our students, and that creates a negative environment for our students. They cannot thrive when this college has put their face, their money, and their resources behind someone who is trying to destroy their lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rochelle?
Thank you, Kat. Howdy, folks. My name is Hal Wircho. I teach geology here at COCC, and I strive to be an ally of our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community. Thank you for giving us time to share our thoughts with you tonight. We've already heard about why the commencement speaker's legislative actions are so harmful to our community. And we've also heard why it's so inappropriate for the college to have invited this person to speak at commencement, which should be a time to celebrate our students, not to scare them. Rather, I would like to share my journey as a straight cisgendered ally during these difficult weeks. When I first heard about the commencement speaker, I was on the fence. I was upset about her discriminatory legislation, but I also thought it was important for the college to welcome folks from across our political spectrum. But then I began to listen to my gay friend, to my lesbian colleague, to my trans student. What I heard emphatically and consistently was that this was not about the potential future harm of hateful legislation. Rather, it was about the real harm that had already been caused, simply by the college inviting this person to our commencement. Allow me to elaborate. My students should be studying for their finals right now. Instead, they're studying the horrifying influx of anti-LGBTQ bills that have been passed throughout our nation. My students should be losing sleep to all-nighters as they write their final papers. Instead, they're losing sleep because they don't feel safe at an institution that's welcoming a human being who's trying to legislate them out of existence. Let's consider the consequences. A student in line for an A bombs an exam because they're too busy fighting oppression to study. Another student struggling through a hard class with a C drops into a D, failing the class because they haven't gotten a decent night's sleep for the last 2 weeks. This harm isn't just happening to our students, but to our colleagues as well. In fact, the extra dose of stress, suffering, and time-consuming activism that our LGBTQ+ community is dealing with is direct harm. Think about it. If you're a straight, cisgendered ally, as I am, you get to choose to engage against this hatred. I get to be an activist by day and then go home and get a good night's sleep. I have the privilege to stop thinking about this. This is the message I want you all to take home tonight. Folks who are threatened by hateful actions don't have a choice about whether or not to engage. Engagement costs time, energy, and emotional well-being. This is the simple, direct harm that COCC's decision to invite Representative Chavez DeRemer has caused. Thank you for listening.
Aisha Macy.
My name is Aisha Macy. I am a two-spirited Native American. I am also Hispanic. I am a descendant from the Wasco, Warm Springs, and Aztec tribes. I am from Warm Springs. I'm the first generation of my family to be in college. None of my parents have, and I'm the first one to be here, and I'm shitless nervous. This is my first board meeting talking about what I would like to say, what needs to be said. This is my second year. I'll be graduating next year. I am studying for my associate's degree, and I hope to transfer and work on my sociology degree. So far, lawmakers in 46 states have introduced more than 650 anti-LGBTQ bills, according to the report by the Movement Advancement Project, also known as MAP. And in just a few months of 2023, there have been more anti-LGBTQ bills introduced than in all of 2012 and 2015 combined. The report notes the increasing use of inflammatory rhetoric around some of these bills depicting LGBTQ people and youth as predators and groomers. False troubling narratives, right? I am not graduating this year, but this choice seems dehumanizing towards our gays and our Latinx communities. The voice that we have been fighting for a really long time, even before I knew I was two-spirited. It seems to be irrelevant to not only the school board, but our society as well. I have hoped and want to see our students and future generations succeed here, and it seems that the board does not give a shit. I want to see our institution do better, no matter the job, gender, race, anything. It doesn't even matter if you came from outer space and you decided to come to COCC. I would want to see you guys do like just show some equality and some compassion towards that person or that human. You know, it doesn't matter. They came from space. Different isn't bad. Different is unique, and it's art, and it's creativity, and it's human. We are all different, and we are all the same. And I don't think that none of us, any of us, should be treated any different just because I like women, I like men. I don't care. It's my life, my human, and my opportunity to grow and learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
Great. Are there any board members that want to respond? Again, public comment typically is sort of a one-way street, but I think particularly given this evening and the number of people that we have heard from, I want to give any board member if they would like to make sort of a comment on their own. And then I have some comments that I'd like to make on behalf of the board. Jim, Erica? Alan?
I think I would like to speak. I mean, this has been distressing in many ways. Thinking about this process, and I agree with many of the suggestions that were made tonight for future processes. I know this decision at the time seemed like a good decision to the people who made it, and the decision to move forward has been made to host this the Congresswoman. But moving forward, I'd like to see a more robust process. And I think the feedback I've gotten from those on that committee agree and are making those changes. And I guess the whole thing, there shouldn't be, it's a waste of time to have people legislate in a way that oppresses people or restricts them, right? Like, we have so many big problems in the world. And two, I think that everybody who they want to be belongs. So it's been hard to process. There's been a lot going on professionally and personally for me over the last few weeks, but I hear all of you, and I support you, and I hope that the process can be different moving forward. And also, on the day that the speaker is standing there, she is looking out at you and has to see you too. So however you want to show your support or protest against it, I think that can be very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan?
I've been on the board for about 6 years, I think, and I look at COCC being a supportive place for all voices, and we support all voices. We have Christy Walker, who is our Director of Diversity and Inclusion. I'm on the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity, I said that wrong, committee for all community colleges. And we have a Christy. Most colleges don't have anybody who really looks at how we support the diversity and the differences in people in our college. And so we're doing better than a lot. I'm on that committee too, and I'm supporting Christie as we move forward to figure out how we grow colleges to be more accepted of people and to have boards that are more inclusive of people. You know, we're a place of learning, and I think that we have learned from this. Events move people, and you're moved. And I support your protest, and I support your rising to the challenge. So, you know, sometimes things happen that create other things, and I think we're stronger from that.
Thank you, Alan.
So I would like to echo, I think, the comments that Erica and that Alan both made. And I'd like to say that I very strongly object to the representative's positions and views on many issues, but perhaps most importantly, her views on our LGBTQ2S plus family and friends. It's been an interesting couple of weeks, and I cannot imagine what it's been like for many of our students. I do believe that we need a new process to select and vet commencement speakers, because this time of the year should be about celebrating the hard work, sacrifices, and success of our students. That's what we're all about. We celebrate you. And so I wish that we weren't in this situation. But I do support your protests, and if I'm given the opportunity, I will certainly express my disagreement with the congressman.
I appreciate everyone being here, particularly when it's a little uncomfortable. Been there before, a long time ago. This is a celebration of our graduates, as well as our staff's successes in helping our graduates get to where they are about 3 days from now. And short of having a perfect speaker, I don't know how we can get there. I do respect your concerns, your beliefs, your situations. We will always try to accommodate that. Also make sure it works within our community here at the community college. I trust that our Congresswoman will have a speech, commemorative speech that's congratulations to our students, our staff, as well as here's what you can do, here's what you have the opportunities, and congratulate that not only the students, but also their families who have supported them. And to go forward. We can't throw leadership underneath the bus every time if there's a specific concern or issue. I really trust that she will come in with a very a good speech. We've had Congress people in the past, local, state, as well as federal. And the only person I can think of that could possibly come in as a commencement speaker was probably 2 days ago when Bob Shaw spoke at our commencement. Either you agree with his weather forecast or you don't. That's the only time I think we can ever have the perfect speaker. Bob Shaw was the last one probably, and we'll probably have some issues in the future. But as the process changes, as what everyone has spoken of how we come up to that commencement speaker, we'll be okay. And I believe you will be too, representing your communities. There's a dozen of you have given some presentations here tonight, along with probably another 10 or 12 out there on the street. Respect every bit of it.
Thank you, Jeff.
I agree with most of what my fellow board members have said, and I imagine for those of you who are asking the college to rescind its invitation to the Congresswoman to speak, it must be very frustrating to hear that we agree with you and yet we are not going to rescind the invitation. And I cannot speak for my fellow board members or for the president or the senior leadership team. But speaking for myself as an individual board member, I do not support rescinding the invitation, and I want to explain why. I do not support our congresswoman, and I was disappointed in the choice to invite her to be our speaker. But I think rescinding the invitation would be worse than allowing it to go forward. My concern is the backlash that would invite. The congresswoman is, she represents a certain faction of our Republican Party. And that faction has some potential. They certainly use violent rhetoric. As you can see from the Deschutes Republicans chair having submitted a guest column to the bulletin that was published this morning. Now, I think that individual is a clown, but I think he speaks for a certain subset of folks who are genuinely capable of violence. And I would not want to see that sort of backlash come to our campus. I am also somewhat hopeful that one positive thing that may come out of this mistake is that it will drive more engagement with our political process. I had a vested interest in the fall 2022 election. I ran alongside, as a candidate, I ran alongside Congresswoman Chavez DeRemer's opponent, Jamie McLeod Skinner. And as disappointed as I was that I was not successful in my election, I was heartbroken by Jamie's loss. And when we reviewed what happened in that election, we saw that there were 9,000 Democrats that voted in 2020 who did not vote in 2022. I don't know that that would have made a difference in Jamie's race, but it very well might have, particularly if we saw increased turnout in Clackamas County and some of the other places that make up Congressional District 5. So I hope everyone who is outraged by this decision works very hard to see that she is a one-term congressman. And I hope that I see this level of engagement in our political process. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Oliver.
Uh,
Make some comment,
I have a couple comments.
please.
I just want to thank, first of all the people who spoke at our meeting tonight. Made some very good points. And all the people who sent us emails, very thoughtful and heartfelt emails about the choice of commencement speaker. I personally feel a certain awkwardness on this issue because board members are not involved in choosing commencement speakers. We delegate that type of decision to the president and her team. And yet we all personally have some thoughts on the matter. Without going into too much detail on my own thoughts, but they include coming from the principle that all people, especially all students at a college, need to be treated with respect and inclusion of their choices they're making in their own lives. It is still a college. It is still an institution of higher education, known and valuable, known for the last 1,000 years, and thought of as a place where all ideas can be shared and discussed, because it's only through that process that we advance our society. And I think so far what I'm seeing, that the LGBTQ community that is also part of COCC was dealt kind of a hard blow when it was announced that who was going to be the commencement speaker. However, since that time, by the behavior and approach taken by the but by that community at our college, you are slowly but surely, I think, turning this into a win for your community. And I don't see, it probably doesn't feel that way. I know in the old days when a lot of college students were protesting the Vietnam War, it certainly didn't feel like any wins were being made by the protests. But now we're in a different era where issues are different, but still somewhat related. And I think this whole thing will, like I say, be viewed in the rearview mirror as a win for your community. And I would just encourage you to keep at it. Do whatever you need to do at the commencement ceremony, and do it in a respectful and but still forceful manner so that everyone gets the message. And as part of the community under what is essentially your leadership, the college will continue to grow and get better for all of its students. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I want to go ahead and close the public comments with the following remarks. Over the past 2 weeks, COCC's board of directors have heard from many students, employees, and community members about the college's choice of this year's commencement speaker. On behalf of the board, I want to thank everyone who took the time to share your perspective, and especially those who've spoken or had their comments shared this evening. On behalf of the COCC board, I want to take a moment to reiterate several points that President Chesley has made in recent days. All members of the LGBTQ2S+ communities are welcome at COCC. This institution supports equal rights and opportunities for all members of our community. To date, we have established a strong and formal non-discrimination policy. We have a full-time director of diversity and inclusion. We promote safe zone training. We've held or sponsored numerous events. We have gender inclusive bathrooms in many buildings on 3 campuses. The board and I take this commitment very seriously, and I look forward to hearing how we will process some of the suggestions that have been made this evening. Dr. Chesley has acknowledged that given the increased polarization in our society, from immigration to abortion to gun rights, she probably should not have invited a politically affiliated speaker to COCC's commencement ceremony, and she has apologized for doing so. For the record, her first choice was Governor Tina Kotek, which probably would have brought about protests from the opposite end of the political spectrum. In our current environment, any such speaker would likely have proven to be a distraction from a day intended to celebrate our students' incredible achievements. So the board supports her decision to not invite politically affiliated speakers in the future. Furthermore, Dr. Chesley has admitted that not including students, faculty, or staff in the commencement speaker selection process was a mistake, and she is committed to taking a much more inclusive approach to speaker selection in the future. The board fully supports this decision as well. Some have objected that Dr. Chesley has not gone further, wanting her to state publicly that choosing Congressman Chavez-DeRemer was a poor choice, specifically because of her political positions. They have asked her and the college to rescind her invitation to speak at commencement. For a variety of reasons outlined below, the board and I support Dr. Chesley's decision not to rescind the invitation to Congressman Chavez-DeRemer. The most important reason from our perspective is that the Congresswoman is not coming to COCC to make a political speech. She is not asking the college to change its positions on non-discrimination or inclusivity. She is not going to talk about the topics that have so many people appropriately up in arms. She has been asked to speak because she has a compelling story and perspective to share. One that, no matter one's political perspective, is worthy of hearing. She went from being the mayor of Happy Valley, Oregon, from 2010 to 2018, the very first female and the first Latina to serve in that role. to being elected by 51% of voters to represent us in the US Congress in 2022. In that role, she is the first Latina to represent our district in Congress, one of the first Latinas to represent our state, and the first Republican Latina to ever do so. In Congress, she serves on a number of committees that are important to our district, including agriculture, education and workforce, transportation and infrastructure. She is seen as someone who works across the aisle, participating in several bipartisan caucuses, including the Building Trades Caucus, the Problem Solvers Caucus, and the Sneaker Caucus. She's also a co-sponsor of 2 bills, one with Hakeem Jeffries and one with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, devoted to cannabis reform. Many have shared their strong disagreement with some of the positions that the Congresswoman has taken. And I want to assure you that every single person around this table, every single member of the board, there isn't a single one of us who agrees with the Congresswoman's position related to transgender rights. Not a single one of us. Given that fact, I want to assure you that inviting someone to speak at commencement is not an endorsement of all of their views. Political disagreement and perceived differences in values based on those disagreements do not disqualify somebody from being a worthy speaker. If we do not listen to others with whom we disagree, especially on topics where we do agree, like the achievements of our college graduates, I'm not at all hopeful that stalemates like the one we are seeing in government are going to be going away anytime soon. Cancel culture or consequence culture, whichever you prefer, can be very powerful in important ways, especially in the private sector. It can serve as a vehicle for historically silenced populations to finally be heard. However, in public higher education, it can also have the effect of stifling debate and even getting to know one another. That might help us to find common ground, solve problems, and end some of the polarization and stalemate that characterizes our world today. Dr. Chesley and the whole board believe that people can hold two seemingly contradictory values at the same time, supporting the rights of the LGBTQ2S+ community and others who have been historically marginalized, and supporting free speech. CSCC has always been an institution where people care passionately and publicly about our students and our mission, and that has certainly rung true over the last several weeks. My fellow board members and I are looking forward to celebrating our students together with the college community at commencement this Saturday. Thank you. Next item. Next item is the consent agenda. Is there anyone that has any comments or wants to remove any items for further discussion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Multiple seconds, seconds and thirds. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. At this point, we are going to adjourn to a budget hearing for our 23-24 budget. Is there anybody that wishes to make any comments related to the proposed budget? Hearing none, I'm going to move on to the appropriation resolution. Someone willing to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make that, but I got the right one. You did A3.
Yes.
Be it resolved that the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors do hereby make appropriations in the amounts, expenditure categories and funds as detailed above in section A totaling $118,463,057.
Second.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. The next item is the resolution to impose categorized taxes. I would entertain the appropriate motion if somebody has that document.
I'll make the motion. Be it resolved that the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors do hereby impose and categorize the taxes provided in the 2023-24 adopted budget at the rate of 0.6204 per thousand of assessed value for operations and the amount of $3,093,424 for voter approved general obligation bonds debt service for the fiscal year 2023-24. These taxes are imposed and categorized upon the assessed value of all taxable property within the district.
Thank you, Laura. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Finally, the resolution to adopt the 23-24 budget.
I move that the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors do hereby adopt the budget for fiscal year 2023-24 in the aggregate amount of $118,463,057. Total of all funds approved by the Budget Committee on May 10th, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. At this point, we're going to adjourn back out to open session of the regular board meeting. We're moving on to the information items, the April 2023 financial statements. Anyone have any questions for Kathleen? Okay. New hire reports. Any questions for Laura? Faculty rehires. Any questions for Anne Marie? And then the renewal of the administrator contracts. Any questions for Laura? And then we do need action on that item.
Action, that's the X there is an error that I didn't catch.
Okay,
And that is like the other items that doesn't require a vote.
great. Okay. Any questions about the renewal of administrator contracts? I think we have time to do a state budget update if you want to provide that. Great, thank you. I think that would be helpful.
My role in this is to introduce Michael Lalonde, who's been on the job a whole 3 weeks.
I think today is my 28th day, 21st day.
But who's counting?
That's not a good sign that he's accounting.
I'm trying to apply him with.
He's a numbers guy.
As long as it's not counting it down.
Yeah,
I'm just glad he keeps coming back and he's a quick study. And so I asked him to just give us a little sense of what the state budget is right now as the stalemate in Salem continues and what we think as of today we can expect. Michael.
I don't know what we expect, but they haven't passed the budget yet. So, I mean, we get updates about it weekly, and there seems to be some movement. I think they will adjourn on June 25th. And if they do without passing a budget, then it takes the governor to call a special session to do so. What that means to us, we are in a much better spot than many community colleges because we have some reserves around. Some of the other ones do not have reserves and they will struggle to meet payroll if they don't get their payment. And the payments happen in July and August. And what that could mean to us is that if they don't pass the budget by July, we would not receive state funding to the tune of about $2.5 million. And if they don't pass one by August, then we would not receive another 2.6 million from the state. So it is concerning. We do have reserves I'm grateful for. And we should be in good shape, even if we don't receive that. Now, to compound the situation a little bit further, there are a number of grants like the Oregon Opportunity Grant, the Oregon Promise Grant, and other veteran and Native American scholarships funded by the state. If those don't get funded by September, then there could be issues with those for students. So we're keeping an eye on it. We are very hopeful that they do the right thing, get back together and pass the budget. And I think they will. But that's the status of it.
I just asked Michael to share what the budget for higher ed passed out of Ways and Means was.
So we set our budget here at the community college, assuming that 699 million would be passed for community college. And it looks like the number is going to be 800 million as of today. So we could actually receive a little bit more money than we expected.
Going back to the doomsday figures of the two figures we possibly could not receive. For timeliness, it comes to $5.1 million.
Correct.
What is our reserve balance total?
It's above 12.
Early in the session, though, the legislature did pass a continuing resolution that allows the state to continue paying some things through September. So maybe, I don't know if grants can happen there or not, I don't know, but
We have been told no
okay,
until they actually pass a new budget.
okay.
So, I mean, one of the payments that I was talking about for July actually is the 8th biennium payment that we were to receive, but apparently 20 years ago, they pushed it into the next biennium. So we don't receive it until the next 2 years. I mean, one other issue to add to your 5.1 million is in the payment in August. What normally happens is that our PERS bond is paid with that payment. So they redirect money from our payment to go pay the PERS bond. So if they don't pass a budget by then we will also have to pay about $480,000 for a PERS bond. So that makes it 5.6 roughly. So we would be sure.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Again, this may be asking you something you don't know, but. You know, I'm curious, even if a special session were called. Is there any reason to believe that there wouldn't be a walkout related to the special session, or does that have the same? Rules and regulations? I guess I'm having a hard time understanding what people have thought, oh, we'll just call a special session, but it's not clear to me what are the underlying differences have been resolved, you know?
I
I don't know,
can
maybe
take that.
Okay.
The college presidents, they just had a call with the budget, the CFO for the whole heck, I think. They're trying to figure it out. What does a continuing resolution mean? What can we pay? What can't we pay? So this is all new to them. What we hear from OCCA, our lobbyist, is that there's talk of some sort of agreement being made, and it kind of goes hour by hour. It looks good, it looks bad, it doesn't. So we're not getting consistent, reliable information. Obviously, if they continue at a stalemate beyond those payments, then we'll have some other things to talk about. But again, as Michael said, we are well positioned.
Great.
At least for now.
Thank you. Any other, Alan?
So the challenge is that there's hundreds of bills that the House has passed that have gone to the Senate and they're not dealing with them. And those bills will all die if the session concludes without the senators coming back. So all those bills die if they do a special session. Everything starts over.
And we do have some capital construction requests, or friends of the college have made them in the legislature, that we may have to start all over again. We may have to start all over again with a Bachelor of Science in nursing. So there's a real impact. I mean, budget is the most important.
Okay, thank you. Jim or Eric, did you guys have any questions? Great, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Lori. Moving on to new business. Approving the faculty contract. Is there a presentation or?
Laura, please.
Anyone have questions?
Folks.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want us to wait for you?
I guess now that I'm looking at it, is that she's available if we have any questions. I don't hear any questions, then action needs to be taken, so someone make that motion. 10A1.
10A3.
Three.
Yeah, I'll do it. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Central Oregon Community College hereby approves the 2023-2026 collective bargaining agreement between COCC and the faculty forum as negotiated.
I'll second that.
Moved in second, any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Bruce, may I offer just a quick statement?
Please do.
I would just like to say thank you to our faculty partners in our negotiations where I'd like to read their names to make sure I acknowledge each of them for their good work.
Please do.
Get the glasses. Sorry. Sure I get them. Okay, we have Amy Harper, Professor of Anthropology, Belinda Williams, Associate Professor of English, Murray Godfrey, Associate Professor of History, Christina Gradalva, Assistant Professor of Health Information Management, and Steve Edwards, Adjunct Faculty of Biology. And we did have some very engaging discussions over a number of items. The items are listed in the board packet, and we're very, very thankful for the good work of that team and look forward to continued good relationships over the next number of years. So thank you very much.
Laura?
Thank you. I want to thank our bargaining team and I want to thank the faculty too. I think we saw a demonstration tonight of part of what makes just a small part of what makes our faculty pretty extraordinary. They're not just really great instructors, teachers. They are also, and really important community members. They are wonderful role models, supporters, cheerleaders for our students. And we ultimately couldn't provide what we do without our faculty. And so I'm being a little presumptuous to speak for our board, but I think
You can speak for the board.
I think we're very, very appreciative to our faculty and we thank you.
Thank you for making those comments. Appreciate that.
And does something need to be signed tonight, Laura?
Yeah, I'll have it at the end for Bruce to sign.
Okay, and Sarah's here.
I have to give you two versions.
Oh,
I wasn't
good.
sure which faculty board member, I guess they're both here tonight, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two versions are great. Thank you.
You know, honestly, all I have is a signature page, so I'll just sign it and you can apply it to wherever it needs to be.
It's all in the packet, yeah.
As a
And
grant
the lawyer,
writer,
I counsel you not to do that.
as a grant writer, I know all the time coming up on CFO, I just need you to sign this and luckily you trust me. So cool, great. The next is the item to approve administrative pay raises.
Laura again.
Oh, again. Okay. We would like to propose that administrative and confidential employees for this upcoming fiscal year be provided a 3.5% increase to their base salaries and wages and ask for their board approval.
Someone willing to read that resolution?
Be resolved that the Board of Directors, Central Oregon Community College District approve a 3.5% increase in base salaries, wages for eligible administrators and confidential employees.
Second.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next item is recommended changes to the ASCOCC Constitution. I think this was handed out earlier. And Alicia, you want to do a quick? Alicia and
Great.
Greg, sorry about that, Greg.
I get to read his name at commencement, so even though I know how to say it, I've practiced it like 12 times. I'm happy to introduce you if you haven't met him yet, Dre Aguirre.
Yeah.
Who's our student government president. And so I'm going to talk a little about the historical piece, and then Dre is going to talk a little bit about student government's current role in changing their constitution. So for some of you who've been here on the board for a while, I don't remember who was here when we had some interesting year with our former student government. And part of that resulted in developing a constitution that doesn't align, with typical practice in higher ed student affairs world, and put in some layers of approval that involve me, the president, and all of you. And to a certain degree, while that's a good checks and balances piece, it also adds in a layer of complexity that when even small changes, when it's changes in adding additional officer positions or things like that, become unnecessarily complicated. And it also just doesn't align with, one, with best practices within our world and allow for a lot of good communication with student government and the student life office, student affairs folks. So Andrew and Lindsay Bucafferty, who's our student government advisor, has worked real closely with student government over the last couple of years. Many of our student governments have said, can we just, first of all, clean up our constitution? And second, let's make the process easier to get, to have our communication be more tightly connected. In this year's student government, I took that on as a project working with Lindsay. And so you have before you some changes that not only bring the approval process for changes to constitution in place, but also recognize some changes in the positions that we have. Years ago, we had all 6 of our student government positions as elected positions. And over time, when we saw fewer and fewer students running for those positions, fewer and fewer students voting for those positions, we changed that to half appointed and half elected. A lot of colleges and universities have moved that direction. A lot have moved to all appointed. Coming into this year's student, or this upcoming year's student government elections, we only had one person run for one of those 3 positions, and that was for the president's position. So in working with student government, they made the recommendation with Lindsay to change that. So the president remains elected, the rest will be appointed through an interview process. And we do have plenty of candidates over the last few years for the interview positions or the appointed positions. And pleased to say we've got a full slate of folks, or almost full, pretty darn close, going into next year's student government year, because they partially do because to that change. So that highlights some of the big changes there. But I want to give Dre some chance to share a little bit of his input in the conversation student government has had.
Yes, thank you. Thank you again. A lot, as Alicia mentioned, we did kind of go through and we wanted to change a lot of the language, as was said, who do we report to? And also just alleviating any kind of obstacles to give more students opportunities to serve on a student leadership position kind of thing. So that's something we approved not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago. We had our council meeting, and we just recommend these amendments to the Constitution. So thank you. I don't know.
So you have the full draft of changes there. A lot of them are title changes, kind of procedural or administrative changes, but the rest show the change in how future changes to the Constitution will be approved and how officers are appointed or elected.
At the risk of, being a ridiculous pursuit here, I'm just curious why it, like on the second page, it says the council shall be comprised of elected and appointed officers. You use the word officers as opposed to members. I think of officers in a particular position, president, secretary, treasurer, like that. I'm curious the decision to do that, or what do you call the president? Are they also an officer, or?
Yeah, we do, and that's that's kind of common language in student governments across the U.S. across community colleges to call them officer positions. There's not necessarily rhyme or reason to it, Bruce. So if there's a better language to use, we can certainly put that.
I mean, I would think you'd call them members of the council. I guess where I'm going is there a distinction between officer as the council chair as opposed to just an officer who's just a member?
And so I think a lot of that goes to all students are considered members of the Associated Students of Central Oregon Community College. But for the 6 or however many positions tend to be officers to separate them from the general student body.
Okay.
So that's kind of the thinking behind it.
Great.
Can I ask a question? So in the Article 4, Section 3, subsection C, it says election for student body. Oh, no, I'm sorry, subsection B. It says 11 additional council members will be appointed by the appointment committee. And then it says see Article 6, Section 5, but Article 6, Section 5 has been deleted out. So I'm wondering if we have the most recent version.
That just may be an administrative cleanup piece that got missed, or what, can you tell me the?
Sure, so the point is, this is referencing, okay, so this is the section under the council. And it says subsection or section 3, subsection B B as in boy says 11 council members are appointed by the appointment committee. And then it has a reference to Article 6, Section 5, which is used to be the appointment committee, and that's been deleted. And I don't see another place where there is an appointment committee. So you kind of need to have a section on appointment committee in order to go quick.
Insight on that?
Sorry, without having it.
My guess is part of it is just one, track changes, and two, administrative, just oversight in cleaning it up.
Sorry, Laura, can you give me that section?
Sure. So Article 6, Section 5 doesn't exist.
And
It was
what's-
deleted. So my question is
First and second. reading. We did the first meeting and we could fix those.
Right, I see what you're saying. The appointment committee should not have been deleted or at least referenced somewhere else.
So my question is, who is the appointment committee? Is that unchanged?
The appointment committee is now the student affairs.
Yeah.
That's the reference. So it was, the deletion was intentional. Sorry, that's why I had to see it in front of me. We read this 2 times. I got a little weary.
So, yeah, so one of the things that happened when we made this constitutions, we also created 4 or 5 other committees had very distinct purposes, and they sometimes met, sometimes never met. So we consolidated all those to our standing student affairs committee, and that committee acts as the appointment committee.
And who's on the student affairs? I just want to make sure that there's a process to assure broad representation and careful solicitation of interested students in that. So that's why I'm not questioning you. I'm just trying to
Oh, no,
understand the
absolutely.
process.
The student affairs committee is 2 faculty, 2 administrators, and 2 classified staff and 4 students. So it's the only committee when we've had, we tend to say 2, 2, and 2, or 3, 3, and 3 across whatever the different groups are. And this one, we intentionally have more students involved than we do faculty or staff.
And how are the students chosen for that committee?
2 of them are appointed, or 2 of them are standing positions from student government, and 2 are at-large folks who might work through student government to participate. And then we do offer small stipends for students on committees.
Oh, nice. Because I was thinking it's a lot of time.
We also have students on, 16, 18 other committees. So we do a big college-wide social media push and other campaigns to get students involved.
I figured. Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? Yeah, I want to be really clear. I'm fully supportive of this, and I appreciate the work that has been done. You feel comfortable, Laura, with how that your question was answered?
Yes, you're going to make the change that says student affairs committee makes the appointments. Yeah, I'm good.
Is this something that needs to come back before the board? Or, I mean, okay, great. Then I would entertain a motion to adopt the modified ASUCC.
I'll make it, be it resolved that the February Community College Board of Directors hereby approves the changes to the AOCC Constitution as presented with the change of the addition of the Student Affairs Committee being the appointment committee.
There's a motion, it's moved in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. The final new business, I thank you very much, Fred. Final new business item is to approve emeritus status for Lori Benefiel.
Yeah, thank you. I know normally we bring emeritus status in March-ish of each year. But when we have folks who retire mid-year, which Lori is going to be doing this summer, it's kind of hard to wait until the following March. And we realize we bring in March because that's what we've always done. And there's nothing that says we can't do them outside of that cycle. So that's why you're seeing this one here. But I'd just like to briefly highlight some of Lori's accomplishments. She's been at the college since 1998, originally starting as the director of our COCC bookstore. And over the time, her skill and her leadership, her willingness to collaborate, her very student-centric views on things added a whole lot of things to her portfolio that not a lot of people recognized. And so when we started meeting this year to plan her retirement and realized, and we added mail services, and we added vending, and we added laundry, and we added this, and we added that, food service is a big one. Her list of accomplishments is very, very substantial over the years. And looking back in her personnel file, aside from my personal experience, it was great to see how much she was recognized by her colleagues, her willingness to collaborate, her sense of keeping students at the center of all of her decisions, even when she was kind of running the administrative for-profit side of what college bookstores do. But she worked very actively also as part of our Oregon Open Education Resources Group to bring free textbooks to students. So she was able to balance those very, very well over the years. She's been a tremendous part of this college, and she has wonderful plans to travel to Mexico at least 2 months every year. And we wish her nothing but the best. But given her track record with us, her connection with faculty, staff, and students, we recommend that she be granted emeritus status.
We've heard the case. Someone willing to make that motion?
I'm going, be it resolved that the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors hereby approves emeritus status for Lori Benefield.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All those,
She seems very impressive, and we want to thank her for all that she's done for the college.
Thanks, Ellen.
all those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, congratulations. Moving on to old business, Madras expansion update. Zach?
It's really the Jeremy Green show. Thank you all. Just wanted to give an update tonight. We have a presentation. Jeremy, you want to drive? And I'll let you speak to a little bit. Jeremy Green is our director of our Madras campus and capital projects expansion manager. He's in the debate for the longest title.
Or what?
No, I just could have turned off my screen, so people don't have to see my email while I pull up Jeremy.
Okay.
We're still live, so we need
A different layer of tech savvy.
I learned it 2 hours ago.
So again, just wanted to give the board an update, regular check-ins on the Madras campus expansion. This update will focus on some of the work we've been doing with our architect and our construction manager, general contractor date, and some exciting new things to share. And again, I will let Jeremy lead.
Jeremy, I'm gonna have copy of the things we need to drive. Hopefully they work. If not, you can come up here and then I'm just gonna share your screen.
You should be good.
Start to focus on Zoom and see what you're talking about.
Thanks again for the opportunity to come back and bring this exciting update. We are finally at a place that we've all been hoping for. Pictures of what this new building is going to look like, feel like. We've been in this process now, I think, 18 months, years before that in conversation, but 18 months intentionally working towards where we are tonight. And so just super exciting to be able to share it with you all. For those of you that have been to the Madras campus, this is the picture of our existing building. Those willows there in the bottom left-hand corner are much larger than when this picture was taken. And we might be doing some tree trimming with this expansion, which is good because those trees are now hindering the best views of any COCC campus of the mountains. So anyway, moving right along. That's right.
Sounds like a nighttime adventure for.
So this picture that you're looking at here is a schematic of what the new building will, where the new building will be placed in relation to the existing building. The new building there is the one that's quite a bit bigger, as you can see. For size comparison, the existing building is just shy of 10,000 square feet. The current building as designed, and we're still working through the design phase. Kirby, Opsis, and myself will be meeting on Friday. We hope to have some more firm quotes from Kirby in July. Working towards a guaranteed maximum price per the contract that we're with Kirby. And so there might be some slight changes made to the design as is based on cost, but right now the new building is slated to be about 24,000 square feet. So you can see that's fairly substantial compared to the existing building. Those yellow stars that are on that picture are actually reference points for the next couple of screens that I'm going to show you based on what the building would look like from those specific locations there. This would be the one looking at the building to the north if you were standing on Ashwood or B Street. A unique feature that we asked for and the architect has been able to include, and Kirby is fairly confident they're going to be able to complete, is we wanted it to look and feel very similar to the existing building. The existing building is 11 years old. It continues to be in great shape. Josh Clausen, our director of campus services, loves the Madras campus because it is in great shape and doesn't require a lot of his time yet. And so we're pretty happy with the existing building and the look and feel of it. And so we want to continue that with the new build. The other thing you'll see in this picture is that the existing building there on the right, it actually looks 2 stories, but it's not. The bottom part is the foundation. It's a rather large foundation because of the slope and topography of the property. But with this new build, we're going to be able to connect the 2 buildings together through what you can see. There's a walkway, a deck, so to speak, that will allow students to flow back and forth between the 2 buildings with ease. So our lab sciences, which I'll get to in a minute, and our nursing labs are in the 2nd building. But all of their regular classrooms and access to faculty offices as well as student services will remain in building 1. And so this actually having these 2 connected will create ease of flow for students. The bottom portion of this building is going to be the childcare center, which is slated to house up to 100 slots for childcare. Again, in partnership with the Children's Learning Center. This would be what the building would look like from the bottom parking lot, which will be a new addition. This would be what the entrance looks like for the childcare center. The 2nd story and the 1st story are completely separate, their own entrances, their own exits. So we keep bigs with bigs and littles with littles. There's a lot of reasons that we need to do that. Security reasons being the primary, but we also wanted the families and the kiddos that are coming into the child care center to have a look and feel that was their own entrance and exits, access points and things like that. And so it was important for them to not feel like they were just an addition to the campus, like a sort of like a mother's in-law's quarters, right? But actually integrated fully, but again, with their own entrance and exits, they wanted to be a part. But there were some very specific security needs that we needed to meet. And so we've accomplished that.
And I would just add that takes advantage then of that same slope, gives you, for those of you that know, the daylight basement effect. So when you're entering on the top level, you won't feel that. When you're entering on the bottom level, you will. So it really is uses that slope to an advantage.
It does. Yeah. This would be the entrance from the COCC student, faculty, staff perspective, again, facing there as if you're standing in the existing parking lot. You can actually see Mount Jefferson between the 2 buildings right there. Again, just picturesque views. Come and see us in Madras.
I mean, I still think that's gonna be, like 3-finger Jack or Mount Washington.
Yeah, Jefferson is actually further to the right in this picture, but nonetheless, we are building with the intention of keeping the views in mind at the request of the Bean Foundation. Actually, they think this is one of their more pristine pieces of property that they have that encompasses the views that Madras provides. And they asked us to consider building in such a way that we can capitalize on the views. So we've been able to accommodate that request as well. This would be a slight mock-up of what the inside nursing facility will look like. I don't have mock-ups yet of what the science labs will look like. But the look and feel is going to mirror that of the Health Career Center and the Science Center here on the Bend campus, just to a smaller. For instance, our science labs here in Bend accommodate up to 28 students, 28 to 32 students, depending on the room that you're in. The science labs in Madras will accommodate 16 students. So again, that helps us keep the budget down, but continues to meet the need for our health career students as well as our general student population that need access to the lab sciences. These pictures are not ideal by any means. Even the printed copy, I was talking to Kyle and I was like, I don't know if I should send printed copies or not. Even the printed copy is not great as of yet. But what you'll see in this is up here on the one side of the building is all of our health careers section with nursing assistant, nursing, a general teaching classroom that's open to the learning labs themselves, and then the medical assistant here. On the other part of the hall, or on the other side of the hall, we'll have our 2 science labs with a science prep area for faculty to work in. We also have some debrief rooms over here for health careers students when they go from lab to debrief, and then some faculty offices as well. The other thing that you'll notice is the student lounge area. This will be equipped with small refrigerator, microwave, place for students to hang out, converse, work on their studies, do group project, things like that. This will also be an outdoor patio for students to sit and again, enjoy the views and enjoy their time when they're on the Madras campus. The other thing that I don't know if this rendering shows it quite like we would want, but all of the restrooms that we are building in this building are gender inclusive. And so that was a goal that we had from the very beginning, and the architect was able to make that happen for us. This is the lower level. So what you'll see in here is the childcare center, 5 classrooms, a kitchen, which our current campus building 1 does not have. So this again will enhance the different events and opportunities that the college can offer in Madras. But this will primarily serve as a food prep area for the childcare center. You'll see 5 classrooms. Each classroom has individual bathrooms, access, things like that, as well as a lot of storage, and then elevator to get to the 2nd floor, and storage for campus services and such.
Jeremy, what kind of security do we have between the upstairs and the downstairs?
That's a great question. So these doors here are locking doors. They will only be accessible via fob. So any of our faculty all of our faculty will have fob access, and any staff. As well as the childcare center staff will have fob access as well. Otherwise, these doors will remain locked.
So we won't have random people accidentally going downstairs.
Correct, or upstairs for that matter.
And it's likely that staff, in fact, we would have that fob access, might have additional background check considerations that will be driven by the Children's Learning Center. We're seeing how that goes.
And fingerprints too.
It'll be up to them, yeah.
No, I think the state requires that. I have
Yeah,
to do it.
well, if you're in there volunteering, but just to have the fob access, we're seeing what that would be, but yes. It's-
I'll go back real brief here to what you can see. This would also be the outdoor play area for the kiddos. There'll be a part of this is devoted to 0 to 3, and then the other part is devoted to 4, 5, and 6, so preschool and kindergarten.
Not to belabor the point, what kind of security is on the play area?
This will be fully fenced. Only access to the play area will be from inside the building. So there will be no ability to get into the play area from the parking lot or block.
And access will be restricted from the lower part of the building as opposed to the upper part of the building.
Correct. Yep. Only teachers working at the childcare center will have access.
So where is parking for people who want to go to the adult portion of the building?
So this is all of our existing parking, which they're based upon the studies that we've done in consult with the city. There is still enough parking to accommodate what we would house on the 2nd story, and then we've included additional parking in this space here. Entrance and exit for the childcare center will come in and out of this area. Entrance and exits for COCC faculty, staff, and students will remain on top. The city is going to allow us to punch an access road here. We're working with the city on all of this, but the city is going to allow us to punch access here. Eventually, right down in here, the city has plans in the next 7 to 10 years for a roundabout that's going to connect City View over to some adjoining neighborhoods. When that happens, we're going to have another access that will come in here according to our master plan that we're working through right now. So we'll have multiple entrances and exits and ease of traffic.
Jeremy, I'm sure you've thought about this, but I'm just gonna add, please give special thought to good signage at both entrances. Because that is something that my first time on the COCC campus, frankly, I'm gonna use a technical legal term here. Our wayfinding signs sucked. And I would like to not see that happen there, especially given that we've essentially got 2 different functions in the building that we'd like to keep separate.
I totally agree. Having walked with Jen and her team through the new signage project on the Redmond campus 2 years ago, there's a lot of time that goes into that process. It's on the architect's list right now, and we plan to utilize Jen and her team as well when we get to that point in the design.
And not only was it suboptimal for you, Laura, it was also in violation. So
Yeah.
it was so out.
Well,
of
yeah,
code.
I had people in the fire
So-
department tell me that they had trouble on.
They let us know that too, which is why you've seen all the wayfinding change on the Bend campus, not only
Right.
along the streets, but on the buildings themselves.
That's why I said it sucked past tense.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. I used the campus map when I came to Bend for the first 2 years.
Jeremy, stay on that slide.
Okay.
Would you mind just kind of help give the board an understanding of how much additional property the college has? When, I mean, one of the things that the board constantly has to do is be thinking about the future, and the future is not the next 2 years as this building gets built. The future is the next 20 years. Like, where might there be additional buildings or facilities?
So part of this process in this design, the city has requested and require an updated master plan. And so we are working through that at the same time, and the current master plan that we're working on would punch this road out in this direction. And now there shows building 3 here on this side. Essentially, if you're looking at this, everything what would be on the picture orientation north of the building on the upper half is a very steep hill that's not conducive to build at all. We also want to be good neighbors, and there's a lot of folks that live just above that.
Right up here.
That were very hesitant about where we might place in new buildings. And so we plan to continue the master plan, so it would kind of sweep around the edge of that building of the property line there, allowing for additional parking down below on what's a more flatter area. That would also help us capitalize on the views and just the topography of the property itself. We have up in this space here slated for about a 5 to 10 acre solar farm. No, I don't want to use the word farm.
Array.
A solar array. Sorry, in Matters we call them solar farms. Solar array. And which would generate enough power for the building plus some, and that grant actually has just been approved. We were awarded that grant last month, so that's pretty exciting.
And the total acre, so there's also the acreage piece, right? So the total acreage is now up to 41 acres that we will have granted from the Bean Foundation for the master.
Right.
The Bean Foundation originally gifted, according to the contract, about a total of 49 acres. And part of that negotiation process, we gave some back to the city to punch this City View Road through. And then we didn't want to maintain the little pieces of land that would be on the south side of City View. And so in total, the college will have 41 acres.
And I assume that the Bean Foundation is being kept well apprised and is pleased with what they are seeing as.
You can assume that, yes, I
I
can go ahead and
can tell
work.
you, George Nielsen is on top of it.
Yeah, we meet with them regularly. Jeremy has close contact with their executive director. And Jeremy will be missing the meeting, the board meeting, this board meeting on July 14th, and I may be as well presenting this update to them as well.
Yeah, so at that July meeting, Zach and I will be there presenting both the design plans, the fundraising and the budget aspects, and our hope, our aim, and the Bean Foundation is prepared for it, is that they would then vote to turn the deed over to the college at that time in July, so that we could commence with not groundbreaking, but construction prep on the property starting in September.
Site prep, yeah,
Site prep.
utilities, location, that sort of stuff.
And some of that has already begun. Finally,
No, go ahead.
finally, I just wanted to, we need to make note that this is a list of all of the names, and there's probably a few, as I was thinking about this after I submitted this to Kyle, that I actually missed on this. But this is a list of names of everybody who has been involved in this project so far, from the design to the ordering of supplies that we are actually already doing. We had a grant for just over 300,000 that had to be spent by the end of June. And we were waiting on the design schematics of the building to be done, so we knew how much of what we needed to order. And so in the last 2 weeks, many of these folks have been working very hard to spend that $315,000, and we'll be now working hard for the next couple of weeks receiving all of those. I think there are 400 boxes coming to the bookstore between now and the end of the month. Along with folks that have served on the design team, there's faculty, there's staff, and Josh Clausen. A couple of the names that didn't make this list that I was thinking about earlier was Jen Kovitz' team. Her and her team are already working on a marketing.
Yeah, how about Jeremy Green?
Well, I made the list, so,
Did you? I didn't,
well, I wrote the list.
I know, but I don't see you on.
I didn't include myself. Lastly, I just want to give you a quick snapshot of where we're going from here. June and October, we're going to complete schematic design and get to a guaranteed maximum price. July and September, the CMGC Kirby, the architect, and COCC will finalize the budget. July 2023, some of these are going at the same time. We're going to give a formal presentation to the Bean Foundation, hoping that they'll approve it and give us the deed to the land. We're going to go out for the city permitting process in August. Mark at OPSIS and myself have been meeting with the city weekly, so that when we submit the the request for permits, every I is dotted, T is crossed. And then spring 2024, we're still on track for formal groundbreaking, with a operational date as of January 2025 is still, we're still on track to meet that goal pending funds.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that really quick in the ongoing. It's obviously, not an elephant in the room, but we have a big ask in front of the state as part of the rural infrastructure package, and also an ask for congressionally delegated spending through our federal delegation. Those two things we should know more about here in the next few months. And with that, then allows us to go to some of those private and family foundations we talked about with the real estate committee. Allocated the $1 million from that fund to get this going. That's what we've been using largely, and also some small grants involved. We continue to work with the COCC Foundation to put together a campaign cabinet, campaign case statement materials, and a formal launch of a campaign, even though we don't know what that number will be exactly. That's all in process. Actually, Jen and her team have been helping with campaign taglines and all of the logo, et cetera. We're meeting about one of those tomorrow, so that we can be ready to launch that when we are ready to announce. There's also some work behind the scenes with some plan giving opportunities, and a potential property donation that would be that we would be able to sell in conjunction with the campaign in Madras. So that kind of covers those first two, and then the academic program planning is kind of an ongoing process. And again, can't say thanks enough to the folks that have stepped up from our programs that will be represented at the new campus. Lots of input, right down to sinks, to storage, to bathrooms, to tile needs. It's really great to have seen what went on with Health Careers and with Middleton Science Center, because there are even some things we've learned there in that short term that we can use to inform this project as well.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot further yet to go, but we are continuing to make progress every day, seems like. So very thankful for your continued support and for the opportunity to walk in this role.
That's very exciting. Any questions, either Jim or Erica? Any questions or comments?
Thank you all.
Okay, Alan?
Well, I was hoping that when Jeremy and I never know, see.
All right.
Sad, thanks. Meet with the Bean Foundation, you could communicate the board's gratefulness of the relationship we have with them and the value they bring to their community and to us.
Will do. Yeah, we literally wouldn't be here without them. So thank you. Will do.
We'll pass it on to the city and the county commissioners as well. I've been working with the county commissioners weekly on this project as well. They are as much excited about it as we all are.
So academic programs are a little like children, and you're not supposed to have favorites, but I do, and they are early childhood education and nursing. And even though I don't represent Madras, I worked as a medic there for years. My wife and I still own a home, and so like this is just absolutely delightful to see, and I'm so impressed and proud of the work that you have done, and I can't wait to see this vision come into reality.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Great, thank you very much. The next item is Board of Directors, board member activities. I'm gonna go ahead and start with people who are joining us remotely. Erica, do you have anything you want to share in that category?
We're doing activities, right? That's what okay, good. I do. I have on May 17th, I did a OSU Cascades Edge lunch where students came and talked to me about my profession, and I am linked through as the liaison with OSU Cascades, and it was really interesting and nice to be able to share like my perspective and questions they had about like seeking a career in healthcare, and I really enjoyed that. And so it was kind of a cool thing to be involved in. On May 25th, I did make time and come for the elected officials a meeting that was canceled. And I did get to talk to Christy Walker during that time and see a few people. So I'm glad that I made the time and got to spend some time on campus, but I am a little bummed that I know that was rescheduled for the fall. And then June 1st, I attended an OSU Cascades advisory board meeting. And it was nice to meet Sherm Bloomer, who's the new he's two things. He's a dean and he's a chancellor. So they're talking about the difference between those two things. But he's really great, and look forward to and Lori was there to speak at that meeting. The continued partnership with OSU Cascades, and Lori did an excellent presentation on everything that COCC has to offer, some points of interest. And then on the Friday, on the 9th, I attended the Cascade Culinary Tapas celebration, and it was fantastic. And the students did such a good job. The food was so good. And you could tell that they put a lot of effort into it. And it is just, to have that kind of food there, and to have people making that kind of food here in Bend. And I know we have a lot of good restaurants, but it was just so impressive and so good. So, and that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Jim?
Well, it seemed like a really long month, but I guess about the same length as most of them. And so there was a lot of conversation through emails about the commencement speaker. And I also spoke with President Chesley on that same subject. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Oliver?
So anticipating my last board meeting and transitioning off the board, wondering what my relationship with the college would be going forward. Prior to joining the board, I was a COCC student, and next week I will once again be a COCC student.
Awesome.
I signed up for college algebra, and you might wonder why on earth would I be taking college algebra? Couple of reasons. One, I really want a better grasp on statistics, and really higher level statistics requires calculus, which I never did. And so I need to go and do the prerequisites to build up to that. Also, I've been, my daughter is in 5th grade, but she was doing 6th grade math, which at Ben Lapine is all online, and not a lot of support. So it ended up falling to me to be tutor. And I was quickly realizing that she is fast approaching the point at which she will be beyond me. And so I better start working to stay ahead so that I can actually be an engaged and helpful math tutor to my daughter. So, also, I really like, I now am feeling the pain of the tuition increases that I had voted for. Even though we are very affordable, it's still, wow, that's a bite. So.
Great, thank you. Alan?
So May 19th, I participated on Zoom with the Oregon Community College Association board meeting. I went to the Bill Smith Memorial, sat next to President Chesley. On June 7th, I had an OCCA executive board meeting. The day before, I had a Zoom on the executive director search committee. I participated in many legislative Zooms between last board meeting and this one, but not every one. And I've had a phone call with President Chester.
Thank you. Laura?
Well, I've spent much of the last month dealing with or getting 2 of my kids graduated. But I did have a phone call with Dr. Chesley, and I had several conversations with constituents over the commencement discussion. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Joe?
May 25th, we had our real estate committee meeting. You and I have met with the President Chesley a couple of Fridays throughout the last 30 days. Had the pleasure of meeting our future new board members with the COCC tour and lunch. It was great to do that. I think it's the first time we've done that ever, and welcome aboard. And then went to the scholarship event today, and very well attended. It's always a you get to see what we do as a college with the major assistance and the funding assistance from the foundation. If it wasn't for the foundation, we would probably be very well not be here. So anyways, it's a very gratifying to be there.
Great, thank you, Chair. On May 19th, I attended the memorial service for John Overbay, who was a longtime board member. I served, I think, alongside him for a couple years, and he's a significant benefactor for the college, and that was brought up in the service as well. Dr. Chesley was there, and I think Zach was there as well. Thank you. And then parlaying right over on May 23rd, I also attended the memorial service for Bill Smith. Again, someone who has really been a real champion, a supporter, and a partner of the college. On June 2nd, along with Joe, I was part of a new elected board member orientation. I thought that went well. It was an opportunity to sort of hopefully share some of the either wisdom or mistakes that we made to help new board members accelerate their learning curve and hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls that we have made. I thought that was really good. I think Lori and her team put together a very engaging day with the tour, food down at the Culinary Institute. So I thought that went well. What?
The food truck.
Yeah. On June 9th, Joe and I participated in our regular Friday morning call with Dr. Chesley, sort of give us an update on where things were going. And then I've also been spending some time on the presidential evaluation that we'll be talking about in executive session. So next item is the president's report.
I'm gonna make this really, really short. Zach Boone and the college advancement team did an amazing job creating a beautiful, beautiful President's Scholarship celebration this morning. And our two honorees were absolutely delightful. It was Becky Plasman and Dorothy Lehman. Dorothy is a retired English professor. And Becky, you met her this evening. She's one of our great math professors. And I just thought it was perfect. And all the credit to that team. Yeah, that's
Great.
it.
Thank you. Looking ahead as far as dates, we know that this Saturday, June 17th, commencement ceremony on the Zalma Field at 10 o'clock. And then the next board meeting is going to be July 12th, right here, and its composition will look a little different. But at this point, I'm going to turn things over for the next item is a recognition of retiring board members.
Joe, and you've got some things for Joe.
Sure, probably pretty much all of us have been on different boards and different responsibilities. As you know, a board can either end up with 5 or 7 or 8 or 9 people, and you end up having a camel. A project done. But when you are, my last 12 years here, I'll be 12 years elected and a couple of years appointed on the board, and we've had strong board members for those many years, as well as before that as a budget committee member. And it's always nice to know that you're working with folks that are wide thinkers, different observations, different cultures, different demographics, different socioeconomic aspects of it, different personalities, different beliefs. It all falls into the group dynamics of making things happen. There's times we've had some challenging personalities. Sometimes we've had some challenging conversations, but we all said the success of our students is what our focus is. And I can say that my experience has been 12 years of that. And it's going to be tough to say goodbye to 3 of you. Jim, I wish you were here, but understand. And I'd like to recognize everyone, the 3 folks. Oliver, it's I know you have been a 1-termer. You would have been a great 2-termer. And you know, you caused others to think wider than what you normally would, particularly this guy. And I appreciate that. So thank you very much. Jim, I know that you've done a lot of other board members, being a city council mayor. I do remember you when you were a mayor, and you're kind of the workhorse of our group here. You always had those very deep conversations, deep thoughts, and we certainly appreciate all the input you've given us, as well as good direction in regards to where we need to really focus our attention to over many discussion points over the last 4 years. And thank you very much. We'll arrange to get this plaque to you. Once again, thank you. Thank you, Joe. Now, Bruce, I've been, my whole time as you've been with me. Well, I've been with you, or whatever it takes to be. And you know, it's you're that party that kind of collate thoughts, kind of rally the conversations. They really get down to how we funnel things down. What was really impressed, what's always been impressed me is that your eloquent verbiage. I've always enjoyed that. Very thoughtful, very concise, and got the message through. I appreciate you very much, and I know the rest of the board members have as well.
Thank you very much. Comments that you want to make at this point?
I'll ask you comments from all three of you, but we still have the board members to, if they'd like to put their input. Now, let's go to the board members. I'm taking over your job for 2 minutes. Laura. Sorry.
I have enjoyed working with all three of you very much. Jim, you came in kind of in a challenging time when we needed to appoint somebody quickly to make sure that Deschutes County had full, or I'm sorry, not Deschutes County, your portion of Bend had full representation in the selection of our president. And I'll always be grateful to you for that. Plus your thoughtful participation in our meetings. Oliver, you and I disagreed plenty, but I never, ever doubted your commitment to the college or that you had the best interests of our students. So I've always respected you for that. And I've appreciated working with you, and I appreciate your thoughtful approach. And Joe's not wrong when he said you make us think about things that maybe we weren't thinking about. So thank you for that. And Bruce, what can I say? You've made me the old person on the board now because you came on before I did. But I have loved serving with you. I remember you calling me after we had a particularly contentious, difficult situation arise at the college, and I became the chair because there was a resignation of the chair and I was vice chair, and you were traveling, and you left me a voicemail message and you said, I know you're going to handle this. I just want you to know I've got your back. And I was so grateful and appreciative of that, because that was at a time I really needed it. It was one of those moments like, oh no, what am I gonna do? And that just meant the world to me. But I've appreciated your thoughtful approach. I agree with Joe that you've been great at being a consensus builder, and I'm gonna miss that. You can kind of, when we start to go off on little bunny paths, which I'll admit I do, you always say, okay, well, that's great, Laura, but let's come back to what we're discussing here. And I very much valued that, appreciated that, and I'm gonna miss it. Oh.
So, Oliver, I enjoyed my 4 years with you on the board. I looked at it as you were getting great experience being a board member, and you tried some things out that didn't work. You tried other things out and they did. And what I really appreciated, though, was you brought to the board the experience of being a student, and also being one much younger than a lot of us on the board, and ideas and thoughts that came that way. So I'm going to miss you, and I really enjoyed the time we had on the board. And Jim, I have worked with you in local government several different ways. I really enjoy your perspective, especially being a professor and involved in education. That was a valuable thing I think we needed on the board, and you brought that to the board, to the table when we needed to be thinking about that. And I'll be missing you too. And I wish you were here, but so I could shake your hand, but I wish you all the best. And Bruce, we've been working together as employees back in the past, as well as local elected officials through our time here. I wouldn't be on the board if you didn't set me down one time and said, hey, Alan, we really need new leadership from Redmond on the board. So I stepped up and did it. And I've always enjoyed your perspective on things. I'll miss the help me with that perspective phrase that you use that helps with clarity of some issues that we're looking to clarify. And I wish you the best, and I'll miss you on the board a lot. Your experience is going to be missed.
Erica?
Yeah, I just want to say, Jim, Bruce, Oliver, thank you for your service and for giving time and dedication to the college. I know that each of you joined because you have a passion for our students and for our community. And in every conversation we've ever had, that shone through. And you are all open and willing to having conversations and to think about things from different angles. And you are all enjoyable to work with. And I know that this won't be the last time that we interact, especially because of that dedication to the community and the relationships that we have. So each of you, thank you so much for all that you've done. And I guess we'll see each other over coffee or in a different venue moving forward. Thank you.
So let's go ahead and wrap up or roundtable. If anyone else would like to make a comment?
Yes, start with President Chesney.
Okay.
And then, I want to thank you, Jim and Oliver and Bruce, very much for your support and your kindness. And I know you will remember some of these conversations, but you have opened my mind to new perspectives and where maybe sometimes I can be a little stubborn. So I just want you to know you have, I think, had a good influence. And you welcomed me to this role, and I really won't forget that. I will miss you. And I invite you to call me anytime you think I'm going astray.
We'll start on this wall.
My time has been short with you all, but very much a pleasure. I appreciate the careful, thoughtful thinking that goes on in this room. And I know many conversations in my meeting between meetings. So thank you all for your service on the board. Yeah, it's been different journeys with each of us in different years and stuff like that. I've always appreciated Bruce's willingness to call ahead, really do his work, and really help us through some tough situations. And I think when Alan said really coalesce conversations and bring those to a close, you have a talent that I haven't seen a lot of folks. So from a staff member perspective, thank you for that. Oliver, I got to know you when you were a student a little bit, and it's been so fun to see you in this role and see how much informal leadership you've brought in both, I should say, both informal ways, just informal from your personal passion and formal from your role as a board. So I wish you luck from the adventure that lie ahead. And Jim, we didn't get to interact a lot the last couple of years, but echoing everybody said, just your thoughtfulness with it and academic perspective that you bring to all of our conversations has really helped us to think more broadly about everything. So I wish you well.
Hi everyone, Erin Burrs. I'm newly elected board member. Oliver, we haven't had a chance to get to know each other, but thank you so much for your service. And Bruce and Jim, I thanked you privately, but I'll thank you publicly for all of your support and advising to me during my campaign. And Jim, it's an honor to take your seat. Thank you so much for everything you did to support me, and it's really big shoes to fill, and I can't wait to start working next month. So thank you so much for your service.
Well, I'll give a little shout out to Jim and Bruce first. I've known you gentlemen for a long time. Jim's gotten me in trouble a time or two in the last 20 years, and Bruce, you and I've had a lot of water under the bridge, and I'm so sad not to be able to serve on the board with both of you. I just think we would have, it would have been fun to get to know you both in that service role. And I do feel a little sad, in particular, not to have that experience with you both. So I reserve the right to call you at any time. You get me into more trouble, maybe. And Oliver, thanks for chatting about this role. It'll be my shoes to fill.
really to represent the district and to keep kind of that torch alive of bringing new ideas and challenges, challenging thoughts to the board. I look forward to trying to fill your shoes.
I want to thank you for your service, and usually when I come to the board, it's for large sums of money, whether it's collective bargaining, salaries, or IT. So there's nothing cheap that I ever ask for. So I am always grateful for the support. And then, or they're very complex personnel issues. So I know at every time that's happened, there have been, just immense support. And so thank you, Jim. Thank you, Oliver, and thank you, Bruce. You will definitely be missed. And I am grateful for the time that I had to get to know you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just say this pretty much the same. Jim, I knew you at the land trust. I won't let you go far. You can give your hat to Aaron. It never comes off. Actually, it's off in your photo. It's the only time I've seen your head. And Oliver, same thing. I appreciate your support of the foundation and all the work we do, like your perspective on the board. It's great to have a student come on the board too so quickly, and your support of our management too. Bruce, I think I met you on my third day living in Bend. And I'll never forget my first board meeting in Madras, and you shared with the entire room that you thought I was a good hire for various reasons, and it really meant a lot. I was a little daunted. So I think I'll be seeing you a lot still in the funding world and in the community, but we'll miss all three of you. Really, it's been great. And with that comes new opportunities. So thankfully we don't have 3 Aarons joining, then we thank you both, all 3.
Anyone else? Oh,
I just want to echo all the perspectives and skills that you have all brought to your board. It's really been incredible. I've been here about 4 or 5 years now, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with the board and work with the college. It's just mind-blowing how much incredible things happen with our students and with our faculty. And although I only get to see that occasionally, like when I go to the this morning's presentation, working with this group has just been amazing. You're all very thoughtful people who have a clear passion for education in this college. So thank you very much for everything.
Jim?
I want to thank all 3 of you for your service. And for inspiring me. I had no idea how the public sector worked before I started in this role. I really didn't. And one of my first lessons was how a board works with so many of those different perspectives, and to watch and bear witness to I joined during COVID, so you were having big discussions over big things with very different perspectives, and to watch the way you could move from those conversations to treating each other, ask each other about your day, your children, your studies, whatever it is. It's really, it helped me anchor my own stability during that time. It was hard. And watching how you all interact, but also how your service comes to bear on this board inspired me to go back to school and get my master's in public policy. And I would not have thought about myself in that role without seeing you exemplify it every month. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? So I'm back to our 3 board members who are departing. Quite obviously, we're very respected, very wanted to, and appreciated. Jim, do you have any closing comments for your last meeting of COCC?
Well, I would just say that it's been a great pleasure to serve on the board of the college. I think we have had a very good board, and we have had the pleasure and the good fortune to have a very good management team and faculty in order to carry out, what is best for the students. And I guess more generally, I would say that we probably should all remind ourselves from time to time that in terms of human progress, there is no more important enterprise than higher education to advance what's best about humanity and to keep at bay what is bad about humanity. And I think COCC exemplifies how higher education can be within reach for people who, for one reason or another, are not able or don't choose to go off to 4-year or big universities. So it really is an important role and at the forefront of what human progress is really driven by. So it's been a pleasure, and I'm sure the new board, while lacking in the kind of experience we older people have had, will do a good job in picking up the batons and moving the institution forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Oliver?
Reflecting on, a little over 4 years ago when I decided to run for this seat. And talking about the student government and how fewer and fewer people want to run for election, but lots of people want to apply for appointments. And we see that, I think, as well in some of these positions where they'll go uncontested, but an opening will come up and then 12 people will apply for appointment. And I'm the opposite. I love the electoral process. And so when I filed for the seat, I expected a competitive election and staked out positions that reflected my values, but I thought were also would appeal to the constituency that I was running to represent. And it was after that election and getting to meet some of my colleagues on the board, realizing that some of that had seemed like an attack on the current board or the college. And I had to work really hard, I think, to earn the trust of some of my fellow board members. And that really did inform me going forward, both in running for elections after that. My approach on the fire district board has been different than when I joined this board. And as I've counseled other candidates when they run for positions on some of these special district boards, I say, well, yes, you need to win your election and you need to speak to some of the issues, but also be cognizant of the fact that you would be serving alongside folks who are on those boards now. And you need to be collegial and be able to work well with them. And what you are saying now, they are hearing and they are forming opinions that you may have to work hard to overcome if you're not careful. And I remember in particular some advice you gave me, Bruce. Do you want to be right or do you want to be effective?
I give my wife credit for that. And she says that to me a lot.
And I took that to heart, and I think I've grown as a result. And I think that what I've learned from all of you and this board, which I think is the most collegial and among the most effective of any elected board in Central Oregon, will make me that much more effective in my role in the fire district and in my professional career. So thank you.
Bruce, before I return your official gavel back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to start off by directing some comments to Oliver and to Jim. And Oliver, and things that in some cases I'm sort of repeating what other people have said, but I think, clearly your passion and a champion for students and the student perspective and then other important, and I think you did a good job of pushing us as an institution. Okay, what does it mean when we try to partner with the community as a whole? We clearly have a mission. Are there additional things? Are there additional causes? Childcare is one. I think you did a great job of helping to put that on our radar screen and move us. Sustainability would be other ones as well. So I really appreciate that. And I want to applaud you for what I'm going to call sort of the growth as an elected official. I know that I made some quite rash actions in my first days when I was back on city council. I fired the city manager. I was part of a group of that. And so, it takes some time, but you really have grown significantly in stature and always appreciated your thoughtfulness. So. Jim, it was great to be able to serve with you again. We had the opportunity to serve previously on city council. And when we had that opening, it was really an important time, I think, for the institution to have somebody who could literally hit the ground running. I think you were one of the first people that came to mind, and I was like giddy when I knew that you were interested. As has been said before, I think you bring sort of a wisdom, a gravitas, someone that has an academic perspective. And having said that, you continually will surprise me by coming at things from a different perspective. But again, have always enjoyed working with you, and will definitely miss that going forward. Some comments sort of directed, I think, to the group as a whole is 12 years is a long time, and a lot has definitely happened during that. I remember being recruited by Charlie Miller and David Ford, who were two people on that. And I can't remember if they brought me in to this room at that point. And obviously there were a couple fewer photos, but in general, they said, look around. And they said, these are not only community leaders, but as I think Oliver pointed out, these are people that have really been stewards of the college. And these are people that have, rather than fluctuating depending upon, one end of the political spectrum or whatever, these are people that have stayed very stable. And I think that's something that I think we can be very, very proud of. I had an opportunity to serve alongside 3 different presidents of the 6 that are up there, which is pretty remarkable. Jim Middleton, Shirley Metcalf, and now Dr. Lori Chesley. All very different, I think, different personalities, different skill sets, looking inward, outward. But I think they were all the right people for the institution at the time. And it has been just a real pleasure to get to know them, not only professionally, but also personally. I've had an opportunity to serve alongside many outstanding board members. Again, people that, again, were able to balance and articulate the specific needs of their community or their constituency, at the same time recognizing that we needed to be focused and committed to being a regional institution. And I think we have been able to do that, and I'm confident we'll be able to do that going forward. I have really enjoyed working and getting to know many staff. I tell people, I have a master's in public policy. I'm a self-described policy junkie. And I tell people, I like looking under the hood. Like, how is it that institutions work? And I just think the staff did an outstanding job. Your ability to come presentations at the board meetings, they were engaging, they were informative. One of the mantras, Jim will remember this, one of the mantras that I used when I was mayor for the city of Bend, sort of my instruction to staff was, make our decisions easy for us. And I think it's not to say that all decisions are going to be easy, but I think you guys really did an outstanding job of distilling the information for us and putting it in a way that made us basically actionable information. So I'm very appreciative of that. I'm really excited about how we will be leaving the college in good hands. Aaron and Jim, I think, are outstanding people. I know all 3 of them. And obviously it would be different. Like Jim said, you will not have the experience that we have of being on a board, but you'll bring different experiences. And I know that you will bring the mindset of how can we do this together as a team. So I feel very good at that. There are a lot of institutions in this country that have been taken over and are being pulled one way or the other. And I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm glad for that. So again, I just have very much enjoyed my experience. People who know my background, I grew up, my dad was a professor at Stanford. I would be the first to say that a community college was not on my radar screen. And I have loved every single, not every single. Last 2 weeks. I have loved the significant majority of my time of learning about what community colleges are all about, but specifically about Central Oregon Community College. I mean, if you take a look at the foundation, largest foundation of any community college in the state, you overlay that with what I have found when I tell people Central Oregon is different from a lot of the parts of the state. There really is much more of a collaborative nature. The partnerships we have, OSU Cascades, businesses, agencies, organizations. It created an environment where it was really fun for me to learn and to be part of the team. And so I will miss that. Thank you.
Once again, thank you to all three of you, and we look forward to seeing you in another environment.
At this point, the board, you guys are done, but we are not. The board is going to now adjourn to executive session. The executive session is held pursuant to RS 192.660, section 2, subsection H, to consult with counsel concerning current or likely litigation to be filed, and ORS 192.60, section 1, subsection I, performance evaluation of the CEO.
I don't know what I.
Representatives of the news media and designated staff are allowed to attend the executive session. However, as a reminder, the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session. Under the provisions of the Oregon Public Meetings Law, the proceedings of this executive session are for background information only and not for publication or broadcast. I think what we're gonna do, let's go ahead and take about 3 to 4 minutes. And then we